Okay, so today I'm going to start a new series. The series is called Kingdom Focus. Somebody say Kingdom Focus. Our whole year we've been asking, Lord, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We've been asking God to bring his kingdom down. And so one of the things that happens when you start well, you have what we call vision drift or mission drift. You start well, you're going good, and then all of a sudden things start happening. You start losing focus, right? And some of it through success. Things go good, and so you kind of lighten up a little bit because you're doing good. And the other thing is things aren't going good. And so because things aren't going good, then you start losing focus. So I want to end the year kingdom focused. Is that all right? Amen. And so we want to talk about regaining focus a little bit. And I'm going to take you through Mark chapter 5. But our opening scripture, somebody say opening scripture. Our opening scripture, technology. Opening scripture today is going to be Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 2. And this is what it says in the Voice translation. Now stay focused on Jesus, who designed and perfected our faith. He endured the cross, ignoring the shame of, shame of that death because he focused on the joy that was set before him. Now he is seated beside God on the throne, in a place of honor. Somebody say a place of honor. He said, stay focused because Jesus overcame when he focused on the joy. And today I really believe that some of the things we're challenged with is focus. Somebody say focus. Tagline for this series is really interesting. We're calling it vitally attracted or fatally distracted. Your eyes will lead you to be vitally attracted or fatally distracted. What are you keeping your eyes on? What do you see more? Because wherever your eyes are, that's where your life is headed. The greatest thing I ever learned to ride on a motorcycle, and you think it's silly, but I didn't learn it till later on, was your bike will go where your eyes go. If you ever get into race car driving, they'll tell you don't look where you don't want to be. Because eventually, that's where you're going to be. And when you're driving at 200 miles an hour, you don't have a whole lot of time to change your vision. You better keep it focused. That makes sense? Everybody say focus. So some of you would be like, I don't know, Eli, I don't know. No, listen to me. I'm going to say to you, one of the greatest challenges to our focus is our present addictions. Anybody here addicted? Don't raise your hand. Don't raise your hand, because most of us wouldn't be honest about our addictions. But most of us are addicted in one way or another. So it's a different kind of addiction. I'm going to show you a few pictures. Look at this addiction here really quick. This is kind of our first picture. This is the addiction that most of us deal with. All righty, somebody. If you can't say hallelujah, you can say ay, ay, ay. What? See, what most people don't realize is that we are addicted to technology in ways that are absolutely scary. We're addicted. How many of you use your phone more today than you did 2 years ago? Come on, how many of you use it more than you did 5 years ago? How many remember when there wasn't phones? How many of you have ever turned back to your house because you forgot your phone? How many of you have ever forgot your wallet and went to work anyways? Come on, are you with me? Are you with me? Come on, we'll leave our wallet. You may not know this. Let's go to the next slide. The acceleration of addictiveness, check this out. The world will be more addictive in the next 40 years than it has in the last 40 years. Isn't that scary? Here's a statistic for you. Check out this next slide. By the way, this is a few years old, just FYI. The average teenager exchanges 4,000 texts a month. Somebody say, ay, ay, ay. And that's 1 out of every 6 minutes that they're awake. What would happen if they never slept? Okay, we're going to move on. Look at this other one. I want to give you these statistics because it's important. I want to speak to you as an employee. I want to speak to you as an employer. These statistics really make a difference. Look at this slide here. Employees waste 759 hours each year due to workplace, what's the word? Distractions. That's 19 weeks, 5 months. Somebody say months. If you're an employer, your employees might be working on themselves and their own agendas for 5 months and only giving you the remainder. If you're an employee and wonder why you can't get ahead, I'm just saying. Imagine this. 759 hours a year. If I gave you $100 or if you gave me one of your $100 and I lit it on fire, how would that make you feel? If I took $100 that you earned, you gave it to me and I lit it on fire, that's what we do as employees when we spend time on social media, and we should be, okay, move that right along. Okay, there was no amens there. Pastor Eli, you just don't understand. You don't understand. It's not that I want to. No, I understand. Here's the problem. The problem is this is what our world looks like. Look, this is what our world looks like. Never in the history of humanity have we been surrounded by so much distraction. It's all around us. You can't even look to the right or to the left. It's already there. Somebody say it's already there. You're not going to believe this. Watch this. 53% people report checking their email while they're... That's the honest folks. Those are the people who replied, yes, I checked my email. I wonder how many people were like, I ain't putting yes on that. What if they follow me home? But say, that's weird. That's weird. Check this one out. One study showed office workers check their email, not their work email, their personal email, almost 40 times an hour. Here's this 40. That's a whole lot, right? How do you know that's a whole lot? Listen, we didn't have email in the 70s, 80s. They came a little later, right? So the equivalent of that, Nick, would be the old lady that lived across the street who goes to check her mail every 2 hours. Comes out, she wearing a robe. You don't remember. If you remember her robe, hair all. That's you checking your email. It's like walking out there every day or every hour, 40 times an hour, checking your email. Okay. How many of you ever done this? How many have ever picked up your phone and it didn't even vibrate? You just check in case you miss the vibration. In case, all right, I don't even know what's like. Look at somebody say, you might have an addiction problem. Okay, this next slide you just got to show fast, okay? You better just see it really fast because, all right, 75%, the next one. Quick, move away. Look, I am never using your phone to take a selfie of you again. Never using your phone. I was talking to one of my team members about this, and here's what they said. They said most people are catching up on Netflix on their phones how long? Okay, then. Here's, everybody say distractions. Next slide, check this out. 69% cannot go to sleep without checking their inbox. Interesting, huh? This is going to freak you out a little bit. 35% of people check their phone before getting out of bed. 13% brush their teeth and before their cell phone. And only, listen to this, only 10% touch their spouse before they touch their cell phone. If you can't say aye, right? We're talking about 50% of marriages or more ending in divorce. We're talking about relationships falling apart every day as we live. And I'm just telling you today, you will either be attracted actively or you're going to be fatally distracted. That makes sense? Let me give you this next one here. Speaking about relationships, look at this next slide. 38% routinely check their email at the dinner tables. Not only have we lost our mind, we've lost our manners. Are you tracking with me? What a rude thing to be on a date with your husband and your wife and not have the ability for an hour and a half to go, I'm not going to look at this kicking phone. It's a distraction in our life. And I get it, man. I'm busy. I am busy like you're busy. I'm busy. I'm going to pull out my uncle. My uncle's here the other day. He's a freaking genius. My uncle's amazing. But one thing I saw him do, I couldn't believe he did. He was on his motorcycle driving, and I called him on his cell phone. And he snookered that. Remember flip phones? You don't remember no flip phone. He kind of old, but we praying for him. He had a flip phone. And he snuck the flip phone in his helmet, and he was talking to me. What I didn't tell him was I was driving, talking to him, because that's the world we live in. We are, if we're not careful, fatally distracted. Somebody say fatally distracted. Pastor Eli, what do you mean? Look at this next text. Look at this next screen. This is Forbes magazine. This is old. This is about 4 or 5 years old. 4,280 pedestrians in traffic fatalities because of the phone. This is driving accident, right? Driving accidents because people on their phone. Watch this one. Watch this one. 1,152 pedestrians were treated in emergency rooms in 2011 after being injured while using a cell phone. These are people on their phone walking into traffic. People on their phone walking while they're hiking, falling off a cliff. If you're going to go see the nature that God gave you, put the cell phone away. Snap your picture, put it away, and then go about your business. What I'm saying is we're falling and we're failing because of our distractions. Somebody say distractions. And only like Americans can, and you're saying, Pastor Eli, are you preaching? No, I am preaching. This is a message I'm trying to get to you really loud and clear, and you're going to see that if we don't keep our eyes on Jesus, that we're going to get caught up in the structures of the world. And so now, because this has become such a phenomenon, in America, everything we overindulge in, we now have to create a name for, right? And we create a condition. Now this is not a problem that you and I won't pull away from. Now I'm addicted, and it's a condition. And this is a legal now description of the condition. It's called, check this out, digiphrenia. Digiphrenia is the addiction to digital information in our lives. And a lot of us look at your neighbor and say, well, that's not me. That's not me. So I got a solution for you today. Before you go on your way out, we're going to have a little collection plate, and everybody gets to turn in their cell phones. And yes, we accept PDAs, laptops, and everything else that maybe. How many know, go to the next slide. How many know that technology is not the problem? Technology is not the problem. If I can just use a real simple example for us, have you ever looked at McDonald's and go, McDonald's, you're going to burn in hell? It's because of you, McDonald's, that I can't resist the Big Mac and the extra fries. Right? It's not McDonald's that's the problem. It's that every time I drive by McDonald's, I have to go in. Come on, somebody. And we want to blame McDonald's and we want to blame the cell phone. But the problem is God gave you 2 eyes. And where you choose to set your eyes, that will be the direction of your life. And so we look at things, and every time you go to the store, they're trying to sell you things. I almost tweeted, Chip, it's the truth. I went to Walmart. My wife sent me to go grab some salad and some chips. And I actually made it out of Walmart with salad and chips. I was going to tweet, look at me. Look at me. Because the truth is, we're so given to our eyes that the world knows. All they got to do is put a picture in front of you, and it's going to change how you feel. And it's going to change what you do. And it's going to change how you spend. Just with what is in front of your eyes. Are you still with me? Look at somebody say, it's not the phone's fault. What we have to be concerned with are the weapons of mass destruction or mass distraction. These are the weapons of mass distraction. Many of us, let me restate that, many of us spend so much time on these elements of our life that we miss out on everything that God has for us. For this holiday season, what if you decided to have war against your distractions? What if you painted your face like this? Okay, you don't have to paint your face, but you follow what I'm saying. What if today we said, I am not going to let Thanksgiving in my house be a distraction? Okay, how many of you remember when we were still traveling in cars? Anybody still remember taking long road trips in cars? And then fighting with your siblings? And so you know, the first thing we got was radio, and radio was kind of nice. And then we started putting DVD players in. I told y'all that was going to wreck the family. Y'all didn't believe me. Y'all didn't believe me. Don't put videos in your family. You know why? Because now we don't talk. And now I got nieces that are 6 years old, 7 years old, nephews that are 4 years old, and they're like, come on, the latest, I promise you, Chip, I saw like a 9-month-old. This year in your home, at least for 3 or 4 hours, hit a pause. Hit a pause button on the distractions. Say, okay, guys, yes, how many of you like football? And you know God's team always plays in Thanksgiving. Right? So I know all of you can't wait to see the Cowboys play on Thanksgiving, but do me a favor. Thank you, Robert. Thank you for that big amen. Right? I know you got a DVR, and if you don't, your neighbor does. Say, yo, neighbor. Hit the record button. I'm going to come to your house after turkey. All I'm saying is whatever are the distractions. Listen, and I get it. I'm an American, and I love football on holidays. First of all, we used to play more than we watched. Remember that? When we would go outside and we would play football, that was way more fun than sitting there. But now we watch it. Okay, I'm not preaching against football. I am saying that that's not the highlight of the weekend. That's not the moment. If that's what you're living for, you've lost focus. You got to regain your focus. Somebody say focus. Focus. So my hope today is with our conversation for the next few minutes that we will regain or get on the process of regaining focus so that we can have all that God has for us. Is that all right? So I'm going to start reading this story for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be addressing or referring to this story. And this is the story that we find in Mark's account in the 5th chapter. He starts telling the story about a man who was really oppressed. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read it to you. Is that okay? I don't know, guys. Can you bring it up there big enough for me to read? Yeah. Nope. We'll leave that. Oh, there you go. Okay. Perfect, guys. Thank you. Then they came to the other side. Somebody say the other side. The other side. I want you to notice, and that may not seem significant to you, but that's super significant. Jesus is visiting a particular side. You know, like some of you are going to go have turkey dinner at that side of the family. If you don't got that side of the family, you are that side of the family, right? So Jesus is going over to the other side of the country of the Gadarenes, and when he had come out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. Now, I'm going to stop here for just a minute, and I'm going to ask you today, are you struggling with something that makes you feel unclean? A lot of the reason we focus on other things, just bear with me for a minute. A lot of the reason we change our focus is because we don't want to deal with the thing that makes us feel unclean. I would rather look at somebody else's life on Facebook, on Snapchat, than have to deal with my own life. I would rather sit here and watch you. Listen to me, young people. I would rather sit here and watch 3 hours of iFunny videos because my life is not enjoyable. Here was a man who we read in the Bible was plagued with an unclean spirit. And most of us don't understand that our distraction isn't based on the joy of our life. It's based on the things that we don't like about ourselves. So we try to fill our schedule with stuff so that we don't have to deal with us. Make sense? And so here he was. Go ahead, bring back the scripture. Here he was, unclean spirit, who had his dwelling amongst tombs, and no one could bind him, not even with chains, because he had often been around the shackles and chains, and the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles had broken him in pieces, or he had broken in pieces, and neither could anyone, I went a little too fast with it, not could anyone tame him. I'm going to ask you about this for just a minute. What are the things that you've tried to chain down in your life? Listen, the reason we go and we focus on other things in our life is because there's an unclean spirit in us. This unclean spirit in us are the things in us. Man, I'm going to preach today. These are the things that drive you, and they drive you crazy. God, why am I doing? Paul said it like this: the things I don't want to do, I'm doing these things. I don't want to do them, and it's driving me crazy. And the things I want to do, I can't manage to do. And I got to be honest with you today. Listen, you guys, there's some of us, and I believe in the fact that there is chemical imbalance. And I'm grateful for doctors and medicines who give us a medicine that helps us keep mentally balanced. I get that. But a lot of it, let's just be honest today, we don't like dealing with the uncleanness of our own thoughts. We don't like dealing with the uncleanness of our own choices. And so what we do is we try to put chains on that stuff. We try to, like I said to you today, this would be the form of a chain. Hey, when everybody leaves, just put your cell phone in a box, and you'll never have to worry about digiphrenia again. Right? That would be a chain. How many of you, if this would solve your focus problem, you would put your phone in a box? If I could explain it clearly to you enough, what's at stake right now, you would put your phone in the box. But here's the problem. It would last for 2 days. You'd be back at AT&T, Verizon, you're like, can I borrow a loaner phone for that crazy church made me give up my phone? You'd be itching because that's not the answer. That's a chain, but you'll break out of that chain. And that's what this man was dealing with. He kept trying to put external ways to deal with this uncleanliness in his heart. But every chain he put on, he found a way to break. Every diet he started, did I say that? Every diet he started, he found a way to break. And he couldn't deal with this thing inside of him. This thing inside of him kept holding him back down. And so watch this. Watch this. He would just find himself he chose to rather live in the tombs than to deal with this unclean spirit. Are you comfortable? This is not, you may say, Pastor, I'm in church today. What are you talking about? Listen, I've seen more people with I love you, Jesus bumper stickers and a jacked up life. Because we come to church, but we're unfocused. Right? We're not living the kingdom principles or the kingdom life. And here was this guy who was so inundated with his unclean spirit and so used to being shackled and not having any results, not having any progress. I've tried it, it didn't work. I can't get up until one day, watch this, until one day in verse 6. Verse 5, thank you. And always day and night, he was in the mountains, and this is what I was talking about. He was just comfortable living in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. And in case this seems irrelevant to you, if you're not doing this, you know somebody who is. Cutting has become one of the most insidious ways of people dealing with their inability to love themselves and deal with their unclean spirits. Your kids are cutting themselves. Your nephews and your nieces are cutting themselves. Are you telling me that in the year 2018, that there are people who are still living out the habits that we see in Mark chapter 5? I'm telling you yes. I'm telling you yes, that there are still unclean things around us that are trying to hold us back geographically, that are trying to hold us back spiritually, that are trying to hold us back relationally. And there's an uncleanness to us, and all you got to do is change your focus today. I'm not telling you that the power of the unclean is greater. I'm telling you there's a greater focus, there's a greater power that's available to you, but you got to change the focus. You know, we do encounters, Abel, we do these encounters, and we ask people to leave their phones at the door, and it's really hard for them. Some of you right now have checked your phone 13 times in case one of your children calls you. Pastor, I need to be accessible. Well, how did you call your mom? How did you call your mom come on somebody, when I called my mom when I got there, we didn't have cell phones. We went to a payphone and we were lucky if she was by her phone. All I'm telling you guys is this: we've created this reality that keeps us bound, and we have to look at ourselves and go, okay, where am I going to take my focus? Where am I going to take my thoughts? Verse 6, check this out. In verse 6, He says this, and he ran. No, back it up just a little bit. Up, yeah. When he saw Jesus, when he did what? When he did what? When he took his gaze off of the uncleanness of himself. When he took the gaze off of the shackles, the failed attempts, the unsuccessful endeavors, when he managed to change the narrative from where he was living to what was coming to him, all he had to do was lift his eyes and he saw Jesus. And I gotta ask you, man, get your head out of the cell phone for a little bit. Get your life out of the worries for a little bit. Get your life out of your concerns. I know there's some tough times, but you're not the only one in this garden of destruction. You're not the only one going through challenges and hardships. So if this person is in hardships and you're in hardships, then maybe you can do what he did. Just lift your eyes and look to Jesus. He lifted his eyes and he looked to Jesus. And he saw him afar off and he ran and he worshiped him. You know, I'm so glad that you're here on Sunday morning. A lot of people underestimate, well, you know, Pastor Eli, you know, his message wasn't that good. And boy, them shoes look really nasty. Somebody needs to tell him it's winter. You don't wear white shoes in the winter. Maybe you came in here and you're like, oh my God, the parking lot, all that gravel, all that mess. Oh my God, the atrium, they're still like, is that ever going to finish? Oh my God, look, there is Vanessa. Oh my God. If you only knew Vanessa in high school, she was a trip. What are you looking at when you got here? I hope to God that even though you're in a tough situation like this Gadarean, when he saw Jesus, he stopped looking at the stuff around him that was holding him down. He stopped looking at the things around him that were being negative. He looked his eyes, and here was the response when he saw Jesus. He ran to him and he worshiped him. Man, I'm so glad you came in here this morning and raised your hands. It doesn't take all that. Remember when you're shackles? Remember when you had the shackles? Remember when you had the chains? Remember when you were unclean? If you remember that, this is an automatic reaction to what God's done in your life. That makes sense? Yeah, again, I just use these analogies because, you know, the Oregon Ducks didn't play till late last night. And it was a late game, and it went on, and it felt like on and on. And I was cool. Even when we were winning, it was cool. But then we started to lose. I was doing this. And then we started to make a comeback, and I did this, and I woke up, and I was alive, and I was waiting because my team was coming forward. And I got to say this to you in just a minute. Are you ready? No matter what your current situation is, I want to remind you that you serve a God, if you'll keep your eyes on him, who's never lost a fight. He's never lost a battle. He's never lost a war. He is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And if you keep your eyes on Jesus, you're going to be all right. You'll be all right. Look at someone say you're going to be all right. Let's keep reading. Verse 7, and he ran and worshiped him, and he cried out with a loud voice and said, what have I to do with you, Jesus, the Son of the Most High God? Implore you, by God, that you do not torment me. For he said unto him, come out of the man, unclean spirit. Come out of the man, unclean spirit. Then he asked him, what is your name? And he answered, saying, my name is Legion, for we are many. And I'm going to stop here for just a moment. Let's stop here for just a moment. Do you know how silly, Chip, this question Jesus asked? What is your name? Jesus was there when everybody was created. The way we describe God are three big O words. Big O words. Omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. So omnipotent means he has all power. Omniscient means he's everywhere at the same time. What's the third one I told you? Oh, no, omnipresent means he's there the whole time. Omniscient means he knows how many hairs are on your head. Now, if you ask me, I'll forget your name. Don't get your feelings hurt. I'm not that smart. I'll meet people like, hey, Pastor, how are you? I'm like, hi. I'm going to give you a hug, but I just don't have. How is Jesus, who knows the hair on your head, even the ones on your ear? Come on, I've seen him all the way over here. He knows everything on your body, but he's not going to remember your name. Maybe Jesus asked the question because he wanted us to draw our attention to what we've been dealing with. He wanted everybody to know that an unclean spirit isn't a single thing, but it's a legion. What you've been dealing with is not one thing coming at you. It's, as a matter of fact, the number for a legion is 6,000. There's been 6,000 attacks on your mind, on your attention, on your focus, and Jesus wants you to know that the enemy's after you. That's why it's hard to get here to church. That's why it's hard to read. How many have trouble? Don't raise your hand. How many have trouble reading your Bible? I just can't remember nothing. I can't focus. Oh, there's an unclean spirit. By the way, his name is Legion, which means he's going to give you 6,000 reasons why not to come to church. 6,000 reasons why not to read your Bible. 6,000 reasons why not to support your wife. 6,000 reasons why not to be there for your... Man, I'm preaching right now. I'm telling you right now, just listen to all the excuses you deal with, and you're letting them come into your life, and Jesus is like, no, you don't know who that is. So in case you forget who it is, let me remind you, their name is Legion, and they're coming after the very life that's in you. Man, I better hurry up because I haven't got to point 1 yet. What verse am I on? Bring me the next verse. Say, my name is Legion, for we are many. Also, he begged earnestly that he would not send him out of the country. Now, a large herd of swine was there. I don't know why people got a jack with bacon. This is why people give bacon a bad name right here. Leave the bacon alone. Jesus, sanctify the bacon, please. Well, the good thing was there was plenty of bacon at the end of the scripture, so stay with me. At the end, the swine was feeding there in the mountains, and all the demons begged him, saying, send us to the swine that we may enter them. And at once, Jesus gave them permission. And the unclean spirit went out and entered the swine. And I got to stop and tell you this. I was being funny about bacon, but how many know that, well, you probably don't know, in Gadara, swine was the large industry of the area. And so Jesus gave permission for the enemy to go in the industry. It's important because the next few verses are going to be paramount for the story. And so watch this, please. As Jesus gave them permission, then the unclean spirit went out and entered the swine, and there was about 2,000. Everybody say, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And the herd ran violently down the steep place into the sea and drowned in the sea, so that so those who fed the swine fled and told the city, who? Told the city and the county, or the country, right? And they went out to see what... It's funny that people don't come out to see until you mess with their money. Right? It's funny that when America was in recession, churches were filled. Distraction. Somebody say distraction. Now we got money. That unclean spirit goes into the swine. Shifted from the trouble. Oh man, I wish I had a day to pray. Shifted from I'm in trouble, look at all I'm going through. Now I got all this blessing. Look at all this money I got. Look at all this goodness I got. And God goes, I'm going to show you what happens when the unclean spirit that was in you. That's why people who are broke and then become rich but don't address the unclean spirit, it transfers into their blessing. Because they didn't address the unclean spirit. You could be making more money and still be dealing with the same chains, shackles, and attitudes you had when you was broke. And so this money transfers, or the spirit transfers over to the money. They went ahead and jumped into the deal, and then all of a sudden everybody comes out to see. Everybody say, see. They didn't see... I'm going to get ahead of myself. See what had happened. They didn't see who was there. That's not what they came out to see. They didn't came out to say what Jesus had done. They came out to see what had happened. And then, when they saw what happened, they came to Jesus and saw the one who had been demon-possessed, and they said, and had the legion sitting and clothed. Now he had some clothes on, come on somebody, looking normal and in his right mind, and they were afraid. They came to find a guy whose life was jacked up. Now he's got good clothes on. He's looking like he's never looked before. And the city and the country were afraid. 22 years old and you were a virgin and you got married? Ooh. Married 50 years and still together? Ooh. You go to church and read your... Ooh. Ooh is Spanish for ooh. Some of you are looking at me like, what's a ooh? As long as you're an alcoholic, it's normal. As long as you're addicted, we're okay. As long as you got shackles and cutting yourself up and you're like, oh, come on, girl, we're just all a bunch of screw-ups. Let's be screw-ups together. Everybody's comfortable. But when somebody puts their eyes on Jesus and God delivers them, now you're the weirdo. Now you're different. Now... Afraid. That's why they treat you weird, because they don't know what real love is. They don't understand what a family is supposed to be like. That's why you're the anomaly. Come on, bring it back up. I got to hurry. It's too small. There, in his right mind, and they were afraid. And those that saw it told him how it happened to him who had been demon-possessed and about the swine. And they began to plead with him to depart from their region. The people who saw this, their reaction was, you need to leave, Jesus. You need to leave. And I'm going to tell you that people whose eyes are not on Jesus will always tell you, you need to leave. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, listen, man, you're at life group once a week and you go to church once a week and you need to leave. You've been in this relationship how long? And you've been struggling for how long? You need to leave. You've been given to God for what? And X, Y, and Z. You need to leave. I want you to notice that the phrase you need to leave doesn't come from people who have their eyes on Jesus. It came from people who had their eyes on the swine. And this is really about focus today. And you may say, Eli, man, why? Because I haven't even got to my notes, guys. This is the introduction. Right? This is the introduction. You may say, why is the introduction so important? I wasn't going to go fully detail on into this introduction. But what happened was I read this morning Moses' post about another young woman who decided today that life was not worth living. So she takes her own life. What is the answer to a world who is demon-possessed, who has got 6,000 enemies on every corner that's controlling, that's directing, that's infecting their life? What's the answer? What's the answer? Dr. Phil? What's the answer? The Democratic Party? The Republican Party? What's the answer? Your ideas? My ideas? I'm here to tell you that the only way the world is going to change is when we choose to be kingdom-focused. I don't need your ideas. I don't need your focus. I'm going to lift my eyes towards the hills from whence comes my help. My help comes from the... Put your eyes on Jesus. And it is a real problem. And it is a real struggle. And the truth is people are going to hell every day because the church is still distracted. I got to make more money. You do. I got to get this. You do. I got to keep up with that. Oh, it's Christmas. My kids need 42 toys. Oh, I got to do this. It's Thanksgiving. I'm going to eat like this. Slow down. Slow down. When was the last time you lifted your eyes and made Jesus? Maybe you're just a little distracted. Maybe you're just a little caught up. Maybe you're just a little sidestep from all the stuff you got going. And I just came this morning to tell you, put your eyes back on Jesus, even if they tell you you need to leave. even if they tell you you need to leave. Let me read this to you because I'm going to end with point 1. Are you ready? I'm going to end with point 1. I told the team I may not make it past 1, but at least we got there. Verse 17. Then they began to plead with him. You need to depart from the region. And when he had got into the boat, he who had been demon-possessed begged him that he might come with him. However, Jesus did not permit him, but said to him, go home to your friends and tell them what great things the Lord had done for you and how he had compassion on you. And he departed and began to proclaim in Decapolis. Somebody say Decapolis. All that Jesus had done for him and had marveled. And so point number 1 is you got to get to the other side. That was my number 1 point today. And I came to tell you today, you're not going to change your life if you keep living in a city that reminds you of the shackles that you had in. If you keep living in a mindset that reminds you of the depression and the discouragement. And if you keep hanging around the people who keep telling you you got to leave. You need to look at all those people and say, as of today, I'm getting in the boat and I'm going to the other side. If Jesus left you, I'm leaving you. If Jesus left you, I'm out of here. If a demon-possessed man left you, I'm out of here too. What are you going to do? Are you going to sit there today or are you going to go to the other side? I'm not going to sit here and be distracted by a bunch of silly folk who don't know what normal is, who don't know what healthy is. It's healthy to spend 4 hours in God's house. We used to go to church and we went there in the morning, didn't leave till it was nighttime. Come on, somebody. And it wasn't as nice as we have it today. Who was it? Iris put up a picture the other day. It was so funny. It was a picture of the Buffalo Bills fans. Because they couldn't afford a whole roof in Buffalo. Like the Cowboys. But anyway, it's a story for another day. The roof in Buffalo and they were snowing. And they didn't leave the stadium. They just put on blankets, snow, watching people they don't know, who never did nothing for them, but they're cheering them on because they live in the city. Get on the boat and get to the other side. I don't want to hear your stories. I don't care what you say about me anymore. I love Jesus. He delivered me. I was in chains. I was in shackles. My life was a mess. He came by. You didn't like what he did for me. I don't need your approval for what he did for me. You don't like what he said to my life. I don't need your approval for what he said. I was the one that was see, you got to get the story right. I was the one that was in chains. I was the one that was in trouble. And it was him who delivered me. Why would I sit here for your approval? I'm going to get in the boat, Jesus said, and I'm going to go to the other side. And I can't begin. I wish I had another hour with you right now because you are not going to believe what happened when Jesus went to the other side. And you're not going to believe what happened to the Gadarean when he left and moved over to Decapolis. There is so much more for you on the other side. God has so much more for us on the other side. Don't let limiting people... What? Remove yourself from limiting people. Don't let them keep you there. And the second thing is this. Come on, Jericho, come play something that makes this sound more spiritual. Come on. Don't let limiting people keep you on the side of the city that Jesus already left. I love my family, Nick. I love them. But some of them wanted to stay in the city Jesus left. I ain't trying to stay where Jesus used to be. I want to go where Jesus is going. Some of them started me on this journey and they stayed. I'm not staying. I love you. Thank you for helping me find Jesus. Thank you for leading the way. But if you ain't going where Jesus is going, I'm not going to stay. I know you want a limited life. I want everything God has for me. I know you want everything God has for you. Don't let people limit you. And the second thing about point 1 is simply this. Something great is waiting for you on the other side. On the other side. This Thanksgiving, try some other side antics, tactics, living. Do some things that are not normal. Have your children write down what they're thankful for and let them read it to you. A pastor, that makes them uncomfortable. It's okay. It's okay. You follow what I'm saying? Do something that maybe before you even eat, have a prayer session. You want me to film something for you? Hey, P.E., I need help. Would you do something for me? Yeah, I'll make a Thanksgiving video for you. I'll help you out. What can I do to help you get in the boat and get to the other side? Don't live another holiday season in the same rat race. And don't end this year thinking about me. No, say, Jesus, I'm going to keep my eyes on you. And wherever you go, that's where I'm going. Keep your eyes up today. You have everything you want? Probably not. There's probably a lot of people around you in that same situation. But I'm keeping my eyes on Jesus. And I'm moving forward today. Does that help you out at all? Would you do me a favor and stand to your feet? If you got anything out of that message, would you give the Lord a big old praise?